everyone, this is Gina. Today I wanted to make a couple of projects to kind of catch up with the treasure bag. There's still a few things that we can still use in the treasure bags, but I wanted to get some of the main components done that are in the treasure bag. There's so many little cute things in this bag that you can use as focals and such that it's taken me a while to move through it. But I'm going to show you how to make this necklace here, and this is the version you would do if you have the opalite bag. This is of course the amethyst version, and then I'm going to show you how to make this little heart necklace. You have the same hearts in both bags. So I kind of designed this one, and then I go off camera, design this one, and then make this one so that we can use up a lot of the different elements in the bags. So these turn out really pretty. They're fairly simple and they move pretty quick. So I hope you'll join me and let's look and see. I will show you the material list before each project, but let's go ahead and look. We're going to make this one first. We'll look and see what it takes to make this one, and then we'll move into the projects. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to make a really simple beading chain project. Now, this is beading chain. It's also called Coriana chain. On my website, it's called Coriana style beading chain. And I have it in a few different metal tones. I am using platinum for this particular project. And I'm going to be using some platinum crimp beading chain ends, or you can use clamshell ends. Either one will work fine. If you use a clamshell, you should have a size 1, or you can use a size 2 beading, crimp bead, so that you can close it around your beading chain and then close your clamshell around the crimp bead. So if you're using those, a size 1 I think works the best. However, you can use a size 2. These little crimp tubes I'm using are platinum tone. I prefer them and the way they look, and they match my chain well. So I am going to be using these crimp tube beading tips, and those are also on the website under chain and findings if you would like to get some of those. It doesn't matter, you can use either one. I'm also going to be using a couple size 2 crimp tubes. You can see this is Beadalon size 2, and they're silver tone. I'm going to be using a lobster claw clasp and a jump ring. This is about an 8mm round jump ring, outside diameter. I'm going to be using 3 ball head pins and a couple of 11/0 seed beads for my components I'm going to build. So you just need about 3 of them. I'm using a Toho nickel. You don't have to have them, but they kind of help with the units, and I'll explain that when we make them. Then I'm going to be using 2 ear wires. One escaped, but there's one. So you'll need 2 ear wires. Oh, there it is. He's blending in with other stuff. So 2 ear wires. And I'm going to be using about 7 bead caps. Now, I bought a kit on Amazon. I've linked it in previous videos. I'll link it again, that has spacer beads and bead caps. And then I bought another kit that I will link to that just has different types of spacer beads. These are really nice to have. I generally don't keep them in my store because it's a lot to keep track of. So I just buy little kits like that to accessorize my pieces with. And I'm not promoting them. I'm just going to make them available to you if you want to get some. So I'll post a link. So what I'm using is 3 of these little flat spacers and then 3 traditional daisy spacers. You can use whatever you'd like. You don't have to use any at all. You can wrap these into little components like this without them. I just dress them up with the bead caps and spacers because it makes them look cute. So you don't have to. And what else do we need? I think that's what I'm going to be using for this particular one. If I missed anything, I will, of course, update it as I'm making things. Let's go ahead and make this project. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make 3 components that look like this. I have made 2. I'm going to show you how to make my 3rd one so that you can make your 3. And this is what it looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our ball head pins and one of our bead caps. grab a bead cap with the bottom of the bead cap down towards the ball of the head pin, and then drop on one of your heart beads. Now this is where I'm using an 11-0 simply because the heart dips down, so I'm using the 11-0 to kind of lift my spacer beads I'm going to put on top so that you can still see a nice shape of the heart, and it lays the components a little bit more level. So I'm going to drop just a little 11-0 toho onto the head pin, and then I'm going to grab my daisy spacer first, my traditional one, and put it on, and then I'm going to put on this little flat one, just like this. Again, you can put just one spacer bead, a melon, metal bead, a crystal. You can do anything you want. Just don't feel limited or like you have to have what I'm using. You do not. Now, once you have dropped your beads down with your heart, then we're going to straighten out this wire and place a round nose pliers right on top of those beads, making sure that everything is nice and tight together, no slack. Then I'm going to hold my pliers flat, and I'm going to push the wire over the back of the plier here. Then I'm going to turn the plier up and down right into that bend I've just created, and then I'm going to bring the wire over the top of the plier, and then I'm going to turn my hand and make the pliers flat again and draw the wire underneath the plier. And now I have a loop that looks like this. Now, if it's a little off center, you can put it back in the loop and move it towards the side that's off, just like that. Then I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers. I'm going to hold on to this loop here, and I'm going to push the wire up the same angle and right next to my chain nose pliers. I'm going to grab another pair of pliers and switch my hands, and I'm going to start to wrap this wire around the wire that goes down into the beads, and I'm just going to do it until I get everything nice and tight. So I've got about 3 turns here, and I'll get you just a little closer so you can see what that looks like. And that's what I have. I'm going to keep it in my pliers here for a minute and cut down this excess piece, which would probably fly, so I just took it out of my plier there. Straighten out my little loop, and then this excess piece down at the bottom, I'm going to use some crimping pliers, and I am going to use one of the round divots and just push that extra piece in. You can use your regular crimping tool like this too. Works really well. So this is what I have now. And we are going to make 3 of those. Let me straighten out my loop. It's a little weird. And here are my 3 pieces. Once you have made those, then you're going to grab your 18 inches of beading chain. And we're going to start by just putting one of these, pick which one, pick the 2 that are most similar for the earrings, because see, this color green is a little bit more consistent together, so those 2 will be my earrings. And this one is going to be the center of my necklace, and then I'm going to use 4 loose beads like this. So I'm going to grab this component and I'm going to put it on my beading chain and draw it down to the middle. Just kind of put the ends together. It's not going to stay centered just yet, but somewhat centered like this. And then I'm going to pick up a bead cap. And again, you don't have to use bead caps. You can just use some 8/0 seed beads. You can use whatever you want in between. So I'm putting a bead cap down here. Get you close so you can see the back of the bead cap. The fancy part is towards the component. And then I'm going to grab a heart bead. And I'm going to slide it down. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm kind of fighting a little bit of a cold. I apologize. I'm going to put that down there. And then I'm going to pick up another bead cap and drop it on top of that bead. I think I'm going to move to this side now, and I'm going to pick up a bead cap with the fancy part towards this component, and then I'm going to string on another heart. At this point, I'm going to try to center them. So I'm going to put my wire together on the ends and just push it all to the center the best I can. And then I am going to continue by picking up another heart. I'm going to drop it with the pointed side of the heart down into that bead cap. Then I am going to pick up another bead cap and put it on this side. And again, you can put little seed beads in between here, whatever you'd like. There is a tiny bit of gap, but it kind of helps to have that there for movement. So it's up to you. And then I'm going to drop another heart down. Oh, get on there. That heart is being resistant. So let me see. Yeah, I'm going to grab another heart. I have played with these hearts for days now, and I have not had that issue. But of course, you know, because I'm on camera, it's going to give me an issue. So I'm going to grab this one here and try it. Yeah, that one just goes right on there like it should. Every now and then, I'm telling you. Okay, so now I'm going to center it again just by putting my ends together. And now I am going to drop another bead cap, but I'm going to drop it to where the outside, the decorative part, is towards the end of my chain. So the open part goes down on top of the heart like this. And let me get it in camera better, and I'll zoom you in so you can see that. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now as I tighten everything together, you can see it's going to stay pretty nice together like this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab both the ends here, straighten it out, make sure that it's nice and centered. And then I am going to grab a size 2 bead-along crimp tube. You can use a size 1 and just squeeze it on top here, size 1 round, but I'm going to use the traditional size 2 and stabilize my design with it because actually is more secure. So I'm going to grab the crimp tube and put it on both sides here. Put them on both sides and drop this down. Now I have everything centered. I want to make sure everything stays nice. This side I'm going to get it as close to the beads as I can. This side I can then tighten everything up. So if you would like, it might make it easier if you have a tiny little bead stopper and you put it on this side so you can kind of work against it without things moving. So I'm just gonna, well, maybe, just gonna put this on here, just like that. And see if I got really off. No, I'm still pretty centered. So now I can work on this crimp tube. I'm gonna grab my traditional crimp tool, and in the second divot, the one closest to the handle, I'm going to grab this little crimp tube into it. I'm going to push gently against my design so that it stays together nice, and then I'm going to squeeze. And now I have a little V-fold in the middle of this crimp tube, just like this. Now I'm going to put it back into the tool, and they like to spin, so try to get the two little tubes you've created on either side of that fold touching your tool like this, so it's sideways in there, and then you squeeze again. Now you can go around and reduce it by squeezing it and making it nice and tight around that chain so that it holds your design into place very nicely and it looks nice too. So that's what my crimp looks like there. Now I'm going to just take this side off, and here's where I can actually get tension, whoops, and make sure that my design is going to hold together fine. So I'm going to grab a hold of this crimp tube in the divot closest to the handle here, push things together, and then just gently back, I mean not even a millimeter back off, and then push. That will give it so it's not real stiff and weird. You have to back off just a tiny bit. Then I have my fold. I put it back into my crimping tool with those little tubes touching like this, sideways in there, and squeeze again. Then I can just go around and reduce and make it nice and round and pretty. And now I have a cute little design. Now I can arrange this. I can do this if I would like, or no, I think I want the green this way. They're gonna twist and turn anyway, but I think this looks cute like this. Now that's the way it's going to lay on my neck because I have that much tension. Now if you don't have quite as much tension, it might look a little bit looser or whatever, but this is how it's going to look if you have a nice little bit of tension on it. It's going to lay out like this. Then we have to finish the ends. So we're going to grab a crimp tube. First I'm going to grab a different piece of chain, and I'm going to show you how to use a clamshell, just so that if you want to use a clamshell you can. So I'm going to grab a size 1 or 900 of them. Jeez, Gina. I'm going to grab a size 1 crimp tube. It's round, so it's a crimp bead actually. I'm going to put it on my chain, or actually I'm going to put my clamshell from the bottom of the clamshell. What's going on here? Alright, things are gonna just really make me look dumb here today. Put your chain on the clamshell on the chain like this from the bottom up. Drop it down your chain. Pick up a beading or a crimp bead, and then just bring it on your chain, just a tiny bit coming out so you can see that. Just let me readjust here. It's not adjusted any better, but anyway, just a little bit of chain hanging out. And then I'm going to grab, you can grab anything you want, but a chain nose or a flat nose works the best, and just squeeze that onto the chain, nice and tight. Once you have that crimped on there, you just slide your clamshell up and over that bead like this, and then you can just close the clamshell. So I like to gently close it, and then I like to squeeze the two loops on top together, and then squeeze the belly, and then squeeze the loops again, and you have a nice little ending. So that's how you're going to use a clamshell if you want to use a clamshell. If you want to do what I'm going to do and use a little crimp tube here, it takes a little bit more skill, but not terrible amounts. It's pretty easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of these little crimp tubes, and I'm going to put it into my tool in the second divot. So this is the worst part, trying to get it in your tool. So I'm going to just pick it up and move it into the second divot here. Jeez Louise, Gina. Sorry guys, this is more of a comedy show today, but you know, some days. So this is what I've got. I've got my little crimp tube in the second divot, the one closest to the handle, and I have it flush with my tool, or even a tiny bit recessed. You want to crimp just the very end of these tubes, or you'll crush the top and ruin it. So now that I have this in my tool, I'm going to pick up my chain, I'm going to slide it into the tube, and then I'm going to squeeze. And as you can see, I have a nice little fold here. I'm going to get a little bit closer. And then I'm going to go into the first divot on my tool here. And just like we did the crimp tubes, we're going to put this in sideways and make sure that we're either a little recessed or flush with the tool here. And we're going to squeeze again. Of course, it turned, so let me get this back on here. And squeeze again. And now I have a really nice little sleek end for my beading chain. Back off. And I'm going to do that again, not quite so close, and do the other side of my chain. And then we can put our clasping on, and we'll have a necklace. So again, I've got it in my tool, flush with the end of my tool. Then I'm going to pick up the chain and slide it in the tube. Yep, today things are just not cooperating with me. I think my chain is not cut well. So let's try that again. See if it'll go in my tube. Yes, it will, but for some reason, I could not make it do it. So I've cut my chain flush. Sorry guys, usually, you know, I'm not quite this not together, but it just seems like that's the way it's going to go today, so I guess I'll just go with the flow. Squeeze, turn it to the side, squeeze again, and there we go. Now, I am going to grab, I'm actually going to need a little jump ring too. So I'm going to have to find my jump rings. Where the heck did I put those? The platinum tone ones. And I'm going to get a small jump ring. And open it up. Of course, this one is not cut well, as usual. So find the opening of the jump ring, put your plier on either side of that opening. So you want one plier on this side, one plier on this side, and just crank it open. Then I am going to drop on my lobster claw, and then I am going to put it on the end of my chain here. And close it by just turning it the opposite direction from which you opened it. So there's that. Then I can just grab a bigger lobster claw. Yeah, this is a bigger lobster claw. It is a jump ring. I'm going to twist it open and drop it on. Sorry guys, I really don't feel good today, and I'm just so there we go. Just like that. And now you're going to see what I made a mistake. I should have looked at my chain before I made my ends and cut them exactly even. I did not, but it's not that far off. It'll be okay, and I can fix it later. But that's how this works, just like this. That's what that will look like. And I can cut my end off and make it flush as soon as I'm done here. Then, so after you put everything together, before you put your clasping on, kind of put your chain together, make sure that you didn't get off center at all, because you probably did. Cut them even and then put your ending on. Now we have earrings. So 2 components, and the same thing. Just grab your ear wire and just crank it open on the opening. and drop on your earring. And these will twist and turn, so you'll get both colors. And the same thing with your necklace. So it doesn't really matter which side you drop them on, because they're going to twist anyway, because of the way that we made the component. And because they're double-sided, I kind of like that effect. So there is my little set. I'll show this to you. And you can cut your chain, of course, any length you want. You can make this longer or shorter. You can put an extender on it. You can do whatever it is you would like to do to get the length that you would like. And that's how you make this little set. We're going to try to make another set and use up some more of the stuff in the bag so that we can maybe move on to something else. So let's give me a minute to gather stuff together. How's that? Be back in a second. Okay, so let's do another project with some of the things we haven't used in the newest treasure bags yet. We're going to be using these leaf beads that are in the treasure bags. In the amethyst bag you have purple, in the opalite bag you have clear, and you have 20 of them. We're going to be using 9 of them for this particular design, and we're going to add a few things. We're also going to be using the 4mm cubes that were in each bag. So you have these green ones that are in the green tealish color, that are in the opalite bag, pink that are in the amethyst bag. These are 4mm cubes. So for the amethyst one that I'm going to make on camera, we're going to be using the pink, and I will show you what we have made here. I did a design. Now I made a mistake in this design. I put 5 cuboids on this side and I put 4 on this side, so I'll have to restring that, but the basic design is solid, so I'm going to go with it. And that's basically what we're going to make. So I added also to the treasure bag some cuboids. And so I have a 4mm clear for the opalite bag, and I have a 4mm purple plum luster for the purple bag, for the amethyst bag. Then I'm adding quite a few other things to it to accomplish this design. I've got some textured cable chain. I have some on my website if you want some. You can use the chain that's in your bag if you still have some, but at this point I think I've used most of that up, and I just think this textured chain looks a little bit better with what I'm doing here. So I'm using some textured chain. You can use any smaller type of chain that you would like to use for this. And then I am again using some of the beads in this kit that I will link below. And what I'm going to be using is, there are some of these larger wide hold spacer beads. I'm going to be using 4 of those. And then I'm going to be using some of these bigger daisy spacers and the smaller daisy spacers. You can use any spacer beads that you would like. You can use bead caps instead of spacer beads. You can design this to work however you would like it to look and whatever you have on hand. So then I'm going to use some wire. I'm going to be using some 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to be using some 20 gauge wire. Is this my 20? Yes. So I'm going to be using both of these for my components. And a clasp, of course, and I'm going to be using one that were in the bags. Now, I'm not sure if you still have them according to how many projects we've done. If not, just use something else. I'm kind of losing track of what I have used and what I haven't during these tutorials. And then I have a couple of crimp beads. These are size 2 beadalon and crimp tubes, actually. And I'm going to use a couple wire guardians, and I'm going to use them in the platinum color. And I think that's pretty much it. If I've left something out, I will let you know in the tutorial as I do it. But I I know I did leave out the medium soft flex wire, so I'm going to use some of that too. And I'm going to use probably about 12 inches of this. So I am going to show you how to make some components that look like this, and we're going to make 9 of them, and then we're going to put some units together. So I'm going to move some things out of the way, and we're going to get started making this project. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is making 3 components that look like this. So what you need to do first is you need to cut some chain so that we can hook it to the upper portion of the component that we're going to make. So what I have done is I have cut one piece with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 links. So you can just stagger yours if you don't have the same chain as I do. You're just going to stagger the lengths, and I'll show you as we do this. So I have 7 links, and then I have 3 links, and then I have 2 links of chain already cut. You're going to do that. Make 3 pieces of 7 links, 3 pieces of 3 links, and 3 pieces of 2 links. Now, I can measure these, but it's kind of hard to do. When we put them together and I show you how they stagger like this, you can really use any amount of links just as long as you can accomplish staggering them on your piece like this. So one is longer, one is a little bit long or shorter, and then one is quite a bit shorter like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this component first, and we're going to make 9 of those. We're going to pick up a piece of 24 gauge wire, and we're going to cut it about 5 inches long. I'm going to get you in a little bit closer here and rearrange my camera so that I can show you how to make this component here. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut 5 inches, like I said, of 24 gauge wire. I'm just straightening it out somewhat with my fingers, and then I am going to slide it on one of my leaf beads. These are top drilled, so you're going to go through the top. And by the way, I have a whole bunch of these left over from the treasure bag, so if you want some, you can get some. So I'm going to slide it down on my wire about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches down on the wire here. And then I'm going to bring the shorter half up and then draw the longer half next to it. So I'm basically just squeezing the 2 pieces of wire right around the top of this leaf bead, just like this. Then I'm going to straighten the 2 pieces on top like this. Then I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers, placing the shorter piece of wire towards the outside or away from me. I'm going to take that shorter piece and I'm going to push it against the plier like this, very close. Then I'm going to rearrange my hands and just by turning this over. Now I have it arranged to where the long wire is straight up and the short wire is to the side, and I can now just turn this short wire around the long wire very tightly and very neatly twice. Just like that. Then I'm going to take my plier off. I'm going to squeeze the top so it looks a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to take my plier and just kind of squeeze it together like that. This is what I have. Now I'm going to cut down this little wire as close as I can. And then I'm going to use my crimping tool and just kind of tuck that in a little bit. Arrange it so it looks nice like this. Now I'm squeezing my wire with my fingernails. You can use pliers if you don't have fingernails, but I basically want this pretty shape right over the top of my bead. Then we're going to grab our round nose pliers, and directly above that little tiny turn we've already taken to connect it together, we're going to place our round nose pliers. Then we're going to push the long length of wire over the back while holding the pliers flat. Then we're going to turn our plier up and down like this and bring the long length of wire over the top and turn our pliers flat again and draw that longer piece of wire underneath. Now you'll have something that looks like this. And I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and I'm just going to turn it to the side here. And I think I'm going to center this little loop a little bit more by pushing it back that way. And this is what I have. Now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to hold that loop. I'm going to bring the wire up next to the plier at the same angle, and I'm just going to start to turn that wire, and I'm just using my hands, and I'm just going to coil it down. I'm going to coil it over the coil I made previously and then start working my way back up. So I'm doing somewhat of a messy wrap. You can make it as neat or as messy as you would like. And I've just brought it back up like this. And I'm going to get you really close so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to bring that forward a little. Cut this down. And then very gently tuck in that little extra piece so that I don't distort my wrap. And arrange it nice like this. And this is what it looks like. And you're going to make 9 of those. Once you have made 9, then you're going to put them in groups of 3. I'm going to go ahead and make my next component very quickly. So what I have are my pieces of chain that I told you to cut. So I've got my 7 link, my 3 links, and my 2 links so that it will basically stagger these little components when I put them on the upper portion of the component we're going to build. So I'm just going to grab one of these pieces of chain, find where the link opens, and I am going to open this piece of chain with another pair of pliers. Just by turning it, just twisting it open. I'm going to put it on one of my components and then I'm going to close it. And now I have a little piece of chain on this component, and I'm going to do that with all 3. I've previously cut them so I know that they're the length I want, and I can just continue putting them on the components. There's my 7 links, and then the one with my 2 links here. And then I'm going to arrange them the way that I want them on my component. So I want them to look like this. So I've got my one with my 2 links here. Oops, let me get you in camera. That might be beneficial. Let's see. There we go. So I've got my 2 links here. I've got my 7 links here and my 3 links here, and I've arranged them so that they lay kind of pretty together like this. Then we are going to grab a piece of 20 gauge wire. Now this is about, I think this is 5-6 inches long also. Let's see, it's 5 inches long. And I'm going to come down about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches, something like that. I'll measure it so that you guys know. And it is right at 1.5 inches that I am holding this wire. And then I'm going to arrange it on my pliers so I don't make a huge loop. So I want it right about here. And I am going to bend this wire. Try to arrange my lights. I'm getting a lot of shadowing, but okay. So I'm going to bend this over the top of my plier, just like this, while holding my plier flat. Then I'm going to rearrange the plier so it's up and down like this. Bring this wire over the top, Once I get over the top and start to move towards the bottom of it, I turn my wrist and turn my plier flat and draw that wire underneath. And you should have a loop like this. Then you are going to open this loop just by grabbing a chain nose plier and just lift it a little bit like this. Then we're going to pick up our units the way we laid them out. So I'm going to first pick up my little 2-link, then my 7-link, and then my 3-link, and I'm going to drop them down into that loop that I made. Then I'm going to just kind of push my wires back together like this. I'm going to grab a chain nose plier, and I'm going to grab right above the links that I put on there and right below where the wires cross. I'm going to straighten that wire out, the extra part. I'm going to change my grip here so I can wrap. And let's see. I'm going to start to wrap this around. And I'm going to do 2 very neat wraps. Now I have my hands arranged wrong, so I'm sorry, but I don't know how I did that, but I did it. Now I have these little wraps that are nice and neat, just like this, and I'm going to cut this down really close, and then I'm going to tuck in the little piece that's sticking out. I like my regular crimping tool when I'm using bigger piece of wire, so I can get this tucked in. I'm going to cut that a little shorter. You want this to be nice and neat and kind of level so that your next part of your component lays on it nice and neat. So try to get those coils together as best as you can. Tuck it in the best you can. And this is what it looks like. Just like this. Now, I'm going to take a daisy spacer, and I had out some smaller ones. So let's see how I did it before. I did a smaller one. And then I'm going to pick up a bigger daisy spacer. And then I'm going to pick up one of my 4mm cubes and drop it down. Then I'm going to pick up a small daisy spacer and a big daisy spacer. Oh, come on. There we go. And that's what that looks like. And yes, I have the smaller one down towards the bottom here and down towards the bottom here. I just did it that way. You can do it whatever way you want. It doesn't matter. Now, I am going to place my round nose pliers right on top of those beads and holding everything nice and firm together, and then I'm going to just push this wire over the top. I'm going to turn my hand again so it's up and down like this, bring the wire over the top. Then as I get towards the bottom, I turn my plier flat again and draw that excess piece of wire underneath, just like this. Then I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and hold on to that loop. And again, I'm just going to turn this with my hands, making sure that I do a nice neat coil all the way down to the beads, and the beads start to tighten on the component. And I'm just going to keep rolling around, and then I'm going to start working my way back up. Just like this. So I make a nice component like this. Let me get you really close so you can see what it looks like. So just roll down until it's nice and tight, and then bring your wire back up nice and neatly on top of each coil until you have something that looks like this. It doesn't have to be a perfect wrap. It can be messier. You can see each one of my wraps is a little different. Just however you would like to do it. And then I'm going to cut this real short and grab my crimping tool, tuck it in a little bit, And that is my component. And you're going to make 3 components just like this. So you're going to make 9 of your leaves, and then you're going to put them all together so that they look like this. Now we are going to cut about a 12-inch piece of soft flex. So let me measure this up and get a piece of soft flex here. Maybe I'll go about 13 just to make sure. And cut this. And I'm going to begin by selecting one of my components, and I'm going to drop it down on my thing. Now I'm just going to put these 2 aside. These are going to be my earrings. So basically, let's just finish those up. If I have some ear wires out, which I do not, of course. Let me get a couple of ear wires, and we'll just finish those up and set them aside because they're pretty much done. So I'm going to grab a couple ear wires, and I'm going to open the side that opens on the bottom loop here. I'm just going to twist it up like this, and then I'm going to drop one of my components on, and yeah, that lays nice. And then I'm going to do it the opposite way on this one, and I will grab another okay, Gina, open the right side. Open up the side that opens, and jeez Louise. I shouldn't do things when I don't feel good. And there we have it. They're a little crossed, but there's my earrings. And now I'm going to set those aside. And get back to my necklace. So I have the unit that I have chosen on my necklace here. Arrange it like that. And then I am going to begin beading, and I'm going to use my cuboids. So what should I do with my purple cuboids? Here they are. My bead mat, my desk is an absolute disaster. But, you know, when I'm designing, I get everything out, and then I decide I don't want to use half the things, but do I put them away? Oh, no, no, no. I just keep getting more stuff out. Goofball that I am. So I want to make sure that this little loop is nice and straight. So even though it's on my wire, I'm going to straighten it up so that it doesn't tip to one side or the other and will be nice and centered. And then I'm going to begin by picking up 2 of my cuboids, and I'm going to put them on both sides of the wire here. Center it somewhat. It's going to keep moving around, but I center it somewhat. And then I'm going to use a small daisy spacer on both sides. And you can use anything you want. You can put bead caps on. You can put any kind of spacer, any kind of metal bead. Little metal beads look really nice. Anything you want to use. So I'm using the daisy spacers, even though they have wide holes, because my beads will kind of hold them in place, and they stack nice, and I can kind of frame my beads with them. So that's what I have got right there. Oops, get you in closer. And now that I have that, I'm going to pick up a cube, and I'm going to put a cube on both sides. And then I'm going to do the daisy spacer thing again. I'm going to do a big one, and then a little one. Do the same thing over here, a big one, then a little one, And for some reason, I don't have enough big daisy spacers out much. I'll probably have to open this new kit and no, I don't. I'm okay. All right, so now that I have this, I am going to put on 5 cuboids. Now, like I said, on this one, I don't know. You can tell I don't feel good because I put 4 on one side and 5 on the other. I like it better with 5, so we're going to do 5, and we're going to pick up 5 of these. Guess I'm going to have to restring that for my thumbnail picture. Poop. Oh, poop. 5. But at least the design is already there. It makes it easier. So, oh, come on. Just don't argue with me anymore, please. Please, please. 3, 4, 5. Okay, then again, to have that on there, then I am going to do small daisy spacer, big daisy spacer, cube, and then big daisy spacer, small daisy spacer, and then here I have chosen to use some of these bigger wide hold spacer beads. So I'm going to use these, and I'm going to use 2 on both sides here. So I'm going to pick up 2 of them. And again, use whatever you want, doesn't matter. Then I'm going to pick up a big daisy spacer. Yeah, I see a couple of mistakes I made in this other one. Oh boy. Oh well, I'll fix them. Okay, so I need, what did I do? Big daisy spacer. Or did I do small? It should be small first. Small. And then big. I need to get a couple more small ones out. This one has a seed bead stuck in it. So, yeah, you can tell I've just been really toiling away over here because I'm just a mess. So, small daisy spacer, big daisy spacer, and then we're going to do another cube and a small and a big daisy spacer. So small, no, I want big and then small. Big and then small. So big, small, and I'll show you this so you can look at it and kind of get an idea of what I've done. And again, you can do it any way you want. It truly doesn't matter. This is just what I've come up with, but stringing is one of those things that gives you lots of creative license to just do what you want. Just do what you want. Okay, so now, did I do? Yes. And then I put a cuboid on the very ends here. Make sure I have everything equal on this one. And this is what this looks like so far. And now I'm going to get a bead stopper. And I'm going to center this just by putting my ends together, and just That way it just ensures I have the same amount on either side. And you can see I have a lot of extra. So you could make this portion longer, or you can cut less beading wire. That's fine, so you don't waste it. But you need to leave yourself at least 1.5 inches. I like to have 2 inches at least on either side to do my clasping. It's just easier. If you make it really short, it's difficult to manipulate your wire around to get your crimping correct. So we're going to do this side with a crimping tube. So I'm going to drop a crimping tube down, the size 2 beetle on. I'm going to get you in closer so you can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to grab a wire guardian, and I'm going to come up through one side of the wire guardian. Just like this. And I can get in a little closer, I guess, like this. Then I'm going to kind of move it up, and I'm going to go through the other side. Come here. All right, why are you doing that? Just because, you know, everything has to mess up on this video. So then, once I've got it through my wire guardian, I'm going to push it through my crimping tube. And then I'm going to go through this first cuboid too, if I can. I might not be able to. It might be, the hole might be too small for that. So let me see if I can do it. If I can't, yes, yes, no, no, yes. All right, well, I'm sick of messing with it. It went through on my other one. The holes might be bigger. I don't know. So, and I may have used fine instead of medium beading. Yeah, who knows with the way I feel today? You never know. So anyway, this is what we've got. It's coming up through the wire guardian and then down through the crimping tube, and then this side is stable. So I'm going to draw this down to my beads and hold on the stable side of the wire, and that allows me to keep everything down where I want it to be, and I can pull my wire down into my wire guardian and crimp tube. I'm then going to just squeeze this wire guardian a little bit to make it fit on top of the crimp tube a little better. And I'm just going to draw this down as close as I can to that cuboid. And make sure my wire is tight in the wire guardian. Everything looks good. I'm going to grab my crimping tool, and in the divot closest to the handle, I am going to place the crimping tool on here and the squeeze. And now this is what I have on the opposite side. You can see I have my little fold. Now I place the crimping tube in there sideways like this, and in the first divot closest to the tip, and I squeeze again. Now I have a really nice crimp. Now, because I couldn't get it down into this bead, I'm just going to take my flush cutters. I'm going to put some tension on that, pull on it, get very close to the crimp tube, and cut that. And arrange my little end a little bit better here. And now I have this end complete. Let's do this end. Basically the same process. It's just that this side is what's going to determine the tension completely, because this side is stopped, so you can work against it now. And I need a crimp tube, which I'm sure I have one out in this absolute wreck of a desk, but I'm just going to grab another one because I don't want to look for it. And I'm going to pick up this little crimp tube here, and then I am going to do the same thing again. I'm going to put the wire through one side like this. Then I'm going to put the wire through the other side of the wire guardian. I'm going to move this all up a little so I can access that crimping tube. Come on, go on there. Okay. Then I can get it through my tube. Grab this loose end, grab the end here. Now the stable end, you just pull on it and it kind of draws everything down, and then you can pull on the side that moves and draw it down more. Now you can see that I have quite a gap here, so I'm going to push my crimp tube down, and then I'm going to pull on my wire here. This is why I like to have a lot of wire to work with when I'm crimping. Just makes life easier. Now I'm going to squeeze my wire guardian, perhaps, and then I'm going to push my crimp tube down again, pull on my wire, get it as close as I can, grab my crimping tool, put it in the divot closest to the handle, kind of imagining where those two wires are coming up and centering it right in the middle of them, and then I can squeeze. Then I've encased both sides of the wire in little tubes. I put the crimping tool back on in the first divot with those little tubes touching the tool, so it's sideways, and then I squeeze again. And then I grab my flesh cutter and I'm going to pull on this, get some tension, get very close, and cut that off. See, I like it to go down into the first bead, so that if you have a little tiny bit of excess of wire, it doesn't make your end kind of curved in or weird positioned funny. You know, it's just nice to have it slid in there, but it didn't work, so I didn't do it. This is the front of my necklace here. So now I am going to grab some chain, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces of chain. Now this, I believe I cut it about, let's see, I cut the chain a little over 5 inches, so about 5 1/8, something like that. But you can cut it any length you want. I like to measure my bottom piece. So this bottom piece, if I put it on the 9 here because I want 18 inches, I need to get to my 18 inches. I need about 6 inches. I've cut this around 5, and that's okay because I'm going to use a jump ring on either side, get a little bit more length, and 18 is just a little long for how I want this to lay on my neck. Again, cut your chain any length you want. You can measure the existing part and then lay it on a ruler and see how long you need to cut yours to get to the length you want. Cut your chain that length, and then I have little jump rings that I've put on the end links and put my clasping on. Now, I'll show you again on the other end how we do this with jump rings, but it's no big deal. So all I did was open a jump ring and drop those on. I'm going to get a couple small jump rings. These are about 4 millimeter and on the outside diameter. And you will just grab one and find the opening. Oops. Put a plier on one side, put a plier on the other side, and twist it open just like that. Now you drop on your clasp, and then you put it on your last link of your chain and close it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab the end of the chain here. I think I want this one. And I'm going to drop that link on the jump ring I just opened, and then I'm going to put that open jump ring onto my wire guardian on my necklace, and then I'm going to close it. And then I think I shall do the same thing on the other side. close my jump ring. And voila, I have a really pretty necklace. And let me show you. So, there's my necklace. And here are my earrings. And I think that turned out really pretty. I guess I should actually get it in camera so you can see it. And that didn't really work either, so. All right, let me get this. And that's what that looks like. I think that turned out really pretty. I'll show you the clear one, and just know that you're doing exactly the same thing with the opalite bag as we did with the amethyst bag, just with different colors. But it's exactly the same process. And I will restring this one because I see more than one mistake in it. So I'm going to restring that one. And at least all my components are already made and the design is done, so I can do it quickly and fix it. Then I have the earrings for this one also. And these leaf beads are really pretty, and you can do a lot with them. You have 20 in your bag, so you can make more than one set if you would like, or make something different with them. But you can get them on the website too. So I have them in full strands, which is quite a few beads. So if you want to play with these leaf beads, you can get some. So this is what this looks like. And I'll lay them out prettier in the intro and stuff so you can see exactly what they look like. I'm going to fix this one. And I was thinking, these little components, I might make some more of these. Look at how pretty these little components are. It's with 20 gauge wire, and I just, instead of connecting the leaves to them, I just made the loops on both sides. I'm thinking I might go ahead and make a bracelet with this. So if I do, I will come back and throw one together real quick. So you can make it with this set, but I don't know how long this video is getting, so we'll check that out. But even if I don't make it on this video, maybe I'll just go ahead and make a separate video and make that. That'll be fun. Okay, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I will make the bracelet and make it in a separate video. And I hope it didn't drive you too crazy with my non-brain function here today. And have some fun making these. If you want some leaves, come get some. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.